righty, welcome in, step on up. It's time for some Three Guys stuff. Thanks for being with us. This is episode 550 of Three Guys Before the Game. Spring practice over for the world champion Mountaineers. So this becomes our spring game recap. Episode 550. All went well. Whenever you can get through a spring game and the trainers never come onto the field, it's a good day. That's all you ask for. It's a good day. Plus, it had texture to it. I thought the event had texture to it. A lot of things going on.
A lot of things, and you forgot number two. Number one is walk out of there with no trainers. Number two is nice weather.
Oh.
Had it.
Real nice weather.
Check.
Good crowd? What'd they list the crowd?
Tremendous crowd. They listed 18 plus,
Did
which
they
makes
really?
it, maybe third, certainly top five of all time.
Wow.
Now, remember, you knew it was big because they opened the second side of the stadium. In the past few years, they've had you just on one side of the stadium.
That's true.
This was open on both, so it looked more spread out, but announced 18, which was a tremendous turnout.
Yeah, it's awesome. Good deal. Three Guys Before the Game. We're going to get into the spring game. We're going to get into the spring season. Talk a little Mountaineer basketball. Textual Healing as well coming up. Plus, big week for us. We're on the road. Friday, Charleston, live show that doesn't get recorded.
So the only place you can hear it is there.
But there's an opportunity if someone would like to go. I'll just say that. We'll tell you more coming up. Three Guys brought to us by Comax Business Systems, keeping West Virginia's business data safe, secure, and efficient for 25 years. They provide remote monitoring of your network to make sure that everything is operating efficiently and, most importantly, safe, so that your info cannot be hacked, taken, stolen, used, and give you the greatest headache you've ever had in your business. It's Comax Business Systems. Call them for a free evaluation. Three Guys brought to us by Lou Wendell Marine Sales in St. Albans. They sell family fun. The weather is absolutely super terrific right now, and it is time to put that boat in or ride that boat. Lou Wendell, the premier pontoon boat dealer in our state. Visit them in St. Albans or on the web at LouWendellMarineSales.com. Three Guys also brought to us by Gomart. I already did the Comax. By Gomart. Go for good times. Go for Gomart. The gassiest fuel you'll ever put into your tank. Super duper traveling food and a whole lot more. Download the app, get the rewards card, save on food and fuel. It's Gomart. Go for good times. All righty, man, let's jump on in. As you said, you start your spring game, rule number one, let's not get anyone injured. And there was no significant injury. And obviously they weren't going full tackle the entire time, which I personally think is a good thing. Like, I always go back to Quincy Wilson's knee injury in a spring game that caused him to miss an entire year. And you just go like, why? For what? Right? So they thought it up. You got to see what you needed to see, but at the same time, healthy. As you said, weather was terrific. We saw the newcomers make plays. We saw the returning players do what they do. Mm-hmm. I mean, Preston Pac-Man Fox just like has glue on his hands. Hudson Clement, glue on his hands. And on those catches, those also 50-50, great throws.
Great throws.
As well.
On both, yeah.
So we'll dive into all of that. Just a festive day. They got so much stuff going on there. It's kind of like a football circus. They don't put like 3 rings out on the field, but there's always something like, okay, over here, now we're going to go over here, now we're going to do this. That was really well done.
Kept it moving. Huey Mack concert before the game. That was nice to see him
return. Did you walk
return.
over there at all?
I did not get over there in time to see that. Had to pull a shift at Daniels that we'll get to here in a minute. So that made my arrival to the stadium a little later than I would have normally gone, so I missed Huey's performance, unfortunately. Great day. McAfee back, Pat White back. That was awesome. You're right on some players. We'll go through some of that and just people everywhere. New uniforms are out. We got to get into that here a little bit as well. I'm sure people have opinions and thoughts on that.
Sure you do.
Talk about that as well.
Yeah. The Pat McAfee, Pat White thing went extremely well.
Yeah, that was great.
Because it wasn't like they just pushed him out there to flip the coin. They were active. In fact, I've never seen a head coach underneath the goalpost with the official in game. But that's what Pat McAfee was into. Pat White, during the radio broadcast, was interviewed, and he was a little upset by what he defined as ghost points. He said, I just look up at that scoreboard and the point total changes. I don't know what's going on here. They just want Pat McAfee to win.
So those two jumped perfectly into head coach roles. Pat White complaining about ghost points, McAfee claiming that White was cheating using his influence to get some points as well. So they just fit right in with the head coaches.
Yeah. And in all seriousness, I think both of those guys were genuinely appreciative of the response that they get when they come back. And McAfee said, I need to come back here more. I mean, like, I don't know when that would be unless they put like another 6 hours into a day. I don't know how he gets here more often, but he said, like, this makes me feel good. Same deal with Pat White. He said, Jed was interviewing him, and he said, do you understand what you mean to these people? And he said, do you understand what these people mean to me? He said, this is the greatest 4 years of my life.
It's important from a fan perspective to have those guys, and not just those two in particular, but the former greats back and engaged. But that really makes a difference in that locker room and to recruits. You know, we talked about it before, maybe more so McAfee than Pat White at this point because those kids are so young. But to be able to have guys like that back and talk and show what they've meant, you show some Pat White highlights to incoming guys and say, this is the dude, right? This helped this program get to where it is. Invaluable to have them back inside that locker room, maybe even more so than connected to the fan base.
Sure. As we said, there was over 100 kids in some form and fashion taking a recruiting visit on officials. And the opportunity for them, a lot of those kids, like, they watch and they listen to Pat McAfee. And for him to be out there and they see him and he gets a chance to, you know, they look at him, they talk, maybe, okay, it makes it cooler, right? And West Virginia got a nice tight end commitment from Madison, Wisconsin. That's a young guy that was scheduled to go to Penn State for a visit and instead detoured, came back down. And so Blaine Stewart lands one, another good, so Blaine pretty hot. He successfully recruited McAfee, White, and the big fella from Madison, Wisconsin, to come to West Virginia. So that's a good weekend.
Yeah.
Now you went over. Now you worked at Daniels first in the day, Saturday.
In the morning. Yeah, pulled a rare Saturday morning shift. Normally I don't have time to do that on game days. Had some time, went over and did a quick shift over there.
You see anybody over there?
I did. First person I saw when I walked in the door, nice gentleman, was purchasing some stuff from Daniels. Guy by the name of John Chambers. Not that John Chambers.
Business school guy?
No, he was quick to point out not that John Chambers, although he worked in software technology. See what he's wearing, Tony.
Oh, that John Chambers.
That John Chambers.
Sure.
Morrisville, North Carolina, by way of Point Pleasant. He's just retired, comes up to all the games, and he was in Daniels. That was perfect. Literally first guy I saw when I walked in for my shift.
Mothman.
Before I could even clock in the back, saw John.
Mothman guy from Point Pleasant,
yes.
huh?
Yeah, that was fun.
Who else did you see?
That was fun. Well, that was the only one at Daniels. Again, quick shift. Just had to get some time in from earlier in the week. Then headed straight over the stadium. And then it was like a receiving line. Met a ton of people. Everybody's so nice coming up saying hello.
We got any pictures of those?
Yeah, let's start with our guy Brandon Willard from Charleston.
Brandon was there?
Brandon was like all geared up. Said hello.
He got a lot of stuff going
So
on.
we were moving to our seats. Enjoyed talking to him.
Yeah.
Listens more than watches.
Sure.
In the car. Likes to drive and listen.
He looks more of a listener than a watcher.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Now you'll like this one. You'll like our next guy, Josh. Pop Josh up there. So that's Josh Price. That'd be our buddy Judah Price's dad, who had a nice spring game, had a couple nice runs.
He looks like a student.
Yeah, he looks like he could still play.
Right?
Yeah,
Looks like a
Josh was
student.
great. He stopped over and said hello and wanted to introduce himself, so it was fun talking to him. Didn't get pictures, but I saw Josh and Kathy Hancock. Josh has been at our event here. His son Wes will be part of the team from Martinsburg coming up. Yep. He was in attendance. A couple Martinsburg guys. Nick Buskey, talented running back, linebacker. He was in attendance as well. It was good to see those guys.
All right, so let's jump in. What
Hold
caught
on, I got one more. I'm not done.
Oh, who'd you see?
I wasn't done. After the game, went out to eat here locally.
Yeah.
Saw Jonathan Barker, pastor, up from Tennessee.
A pastor from Tennessee?
He and Chelsea were in town getting a bite to eat. They were going to be around West Virginia for a week or so. Had just taken in the spring game, had a blast.
Well, I tell you what,
a great time.
That's a good thing. Normally, those pastors aren't around on Saturdays. So they're getting ready to climb into that pulpit on a Sunday.
He was ready to go.
He was good.
Yeah, he was great.
That was over there at the Roadhouse.
Yeah, we took a little Texas Roadhouse there.
Cool.
That was good. So thank you to everybody that came up and said hello. Really nice. Love hearing from everybody.
All right, very good. All right, football-wise, who made you go, ooh, ah, wow?
Yeah, a couple things. So I thought what we talked about Thursday was I said, you kind of hope it's a boring game, quite frankly. that you see a few little offensive flashes, you see some defensive plays, but the thing kind of runs as a stalemate where you see success on both sides. I thought that would probably sit well for what may come in the fall, and I kind of thought that's what happened, Tony. I thought that's exactly how it played out. There was some pressure from the defense, a couple nice interceptions. We'll get to those. Couple offensive plays. You mentioned the 2 catches, Clement and Preston Fox. And so I thought some guys stood out, but it wasn't such an explosion on one side that we come in here and go, uh-oh, I'm worried about the other side of the ball. I thought both had their moments there. Let's go defense first. A couple guys jumped out. I thought Josiah Trotter, as advertised, he was in there and made a couple plays, and including the pick 6, but he was also around the ball a bunch. So I think we've talked about him for months now, really for a year and a half. He will be somebody to keep an eye on this year. Aiden Garn steps in with an interception.
Yeah.
We've mentioned him, the cornerback transfer from Duquesne. He's high on the Brown mention index. You saw why he came up with a pick. Here's one that we haven't talked about a lot, but made a couple of plays. Had an interception of a 2-point try. Had a good tackle on Jalen Anderson where he came up. Zay Jennings.
He did.
Early enrollee. There's some talk that he may see the field this year. Wouldn't that be something for an early enrollee? He was active back there.
He got a little bit to him, you think?
Yeah, he got a little something to him. So I thought he was impressive. And then I mentioned earlier, I also wanted to see a TJ Jackson / or Ty French with some pressure. You got one from French there late in the third. Didn't turn into a sack from him, but he came off that edge, and you could see him force Garrett up into the pocket and off rhythm. It forced Green to take off and was flagged down a couple yards after that. So thought you saw some flashes there as well from a Ty French that we think needs to be valuable for this team come this fall.
Tough to evaluate the quarterbacks in the sense that both Garrett and Nico, when you play with a quick whistle, it's really probably the hardest to evaluate what a quarterback's doing, because how many times in the course of that game could, either of those two popped and made a bigger play. So, I mean, you caution on the side there so you don't get anything, but you just get the overall sense at both of those, at the first stringer and the second stringer there, quarterback, that they've been in this program long enough that they are now playing instead of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
You can see a young guy when he's coming along and he's still trying to process. These guys are balling. They're just going out and playing, which is a huge step in the right direction.
I think you're totally comfortable with both of them. As you've seen, they've both won games for you over the last couple of years, and I think both have taken a step forward. There were times out there when you can just see Garrett's explosiveness. Like when he tucks it, even when you're playing two-hand touch out there or whatever, you can just see him start to take off and break through when that defense runs with the receivers downfield. Garrett's going to make some plays. And we've talked a lot this spring about Nico in our limited time over at watching practice. I think his arm is markedly improved, and I think you're totally comfortable if Nico has to come in to a game. The receiver part of this is what I think needs to take the step forward, right? And that's I'm not splitting the atom by saying that. That's one of the prevailing thoughts coming out of spring, moving into next year. And man, you just got some guys. We've mentioned now Hudson and Preston Fox a couple of times. They made plays. I thought Jaden Bray showed you some, right?
Yes.
He was solid and he got open into areas. And then Traylon Ray, again, not brain surgery here to say you think Traylon Ray can be really good, but just made it's about as impressive as you can be when you're throwing those underneath routes and just, 5 catches? And they were all plays that you need to make this year. They weren't the big home runs. They weren't the catch and break it for big plays. I think those are going to be there. But the balls underneath, when Garrett would have to check it down or look down and not go for the home run, deliver a strike, Traylon Ray catches the ball and gets upfield. I thought he had a really solid game as well, and I'm anxious to watch him come September.
Yeah, he had 4 catches for 55. It was targeted 6 times. Preston Fox, a couple of catches for 19 yards on 3 targets. So things were pretty nominal. Let me see here. Jalen Anderson running the ball 3 times for 28 yards. There was nothing. Let me go back to 4 times for 17 yards for Jalen Anderson. Nothing overwhelming. And Jaheim White, very, very limited action. They didn't plug him in there until late. We know what he can do. So you weren't sitting there. Passing wise, again, for what you want to make of it, Garrett was 8 out of 13 with a pick, 79 yards. I know that pick bummed him out. You could see when he came over to the sideline, he was kind of looking at that going like, all right, never saw him coming.
On the Trotter one?
On the Trotter.
Yeah.
Never saw Trotter in there, and he was kind of kicking himself. Nico went 10 out of 19 with a touchdown, a pick. threw for 82 yards with a long of 15. But again, coming out of there with, comfortable. We're in the past. Let's face it, we've gone into spring seasons, we've gone into spring games before, and you are very anxious and very concerned about what kind of play you're going to get out of quarterback. And as we've just said, I think you can be happy to know that it's experienced help that you've got in that position going forward into next year. Defensively, you mentioned a couple of guys, and Jeremiah Trotter is a rare combination of he's very large. He looks oversized as a linebacker in comparison to what we've played with recently. He's very broad. He gets there in a hurry, and he gets there with great strength. And he's kind of one of those guys that I think he's going to make hits as the season goes on that make people go like, whoa, because he's a football player. Great tracking of the ball, and then he explodes.
We've talked a lot about this linebacker position for months, and we'll continue to in the coming months. But I think that's one of the most exciting parts of this defense is you have some dudes now at that position. Again, just start with Lathan and Trotter in there. Those are guys that we've seen. You've seen Trotter here this spring. You saw Lathan making a ton of plays last year before he got hurt. And then again, as you add in a Ben Cutter, a Reed Carrico, there's a bunch of guys there in that middle section of the defense that I think are going to be impressive. And Trotter certainly lived up to that on Saturday, I thought.
Caden Beiser officially led all defensive players with a half a dozen tackles.
Yeah, hold on. There's another one, right? At the linebacker position that was thrown in there last year, probably before he needed to be. Mm-hmm. That's a guy you feel totally comfortable about putting him in that linebacking core this year to add some depth.
Basketballer turned footballer, footballer turned basketball. Aiden Tagaloa Nelson. He had he had a pick there to end the scrimmage. What about transfers? Anyone make you go woo?
Well, I thought Bray and Garnes, Bray at receiver, Garnes at the defensive back are guys. Listen, we've talked a lot about them, and I think they both need to be good. You add in Joseph and Hollis, the Northwestern transfers, and those are going to be guys you need to play well. Reed Carrico, you want to see be able to add some depth there at the linebacker position. But Garnes and Bray, to me, were the two of those that stood out on Saturday.
Okay, so now we record on the 29th of April. Coming up on Wednesday will mark May 1, and that will officially close the transfer portal door. And every coach out there right now is just kind of doing one of these deals, crossing his fingers, saying, like, I just hope everything stays put, and we'll have to wait and see. No guarantees on this. Something could happen, and you just kind of wait, and then you just got to react. If someone does leave, you got to react and fill the hole.
Yeah, and I think people will leave. I think that's the thing you're going to see here. There's going to be some movement. Your hope is just that it's guys that if they leave at a position, you feel like you've got some depth and you can slide somebody in. I think that's the difference for this program than where it was heading into last year, even the year before, where you held your breath even more about departures because it was such a thin line on the depth department. I think you've strengthened a lot of spots this year, so you're going to get probably a couple departures in the coming days. Yeah. Okay, deal with it, plug the next guy in.
I mentioned this on the last episode because I'm still having a problem processing it, and that is the new revolution of agents making the proclamations for student athletes, whether it be in football or in basketball. We had a K-State player go into the portal in basketball this weekend, and announced by his agent. Like, do you double take?
No.
You don't double take it?
No, I think it just no.
I double take it. I kind of go like, gosh, I can't believe this is it. This happened. Player agents.
It's where we are.
So it opens up a whole new window for agents or people who proclaim themselves to be agents.
Well, because that's also some of that, yes.
So I'm just going to give you a little bit of a walk through this thing. Like that agent business, there are some extremely, obviously reputable, really top shelf agents. But there's always been this other level of people that want to play in that space or in that role. And I get a little bit concerned that at the college level, it is going to embolden some of these people who proclaim themselves to be agents and to get a hold of kids and to say, I'm going to represent you, but they really don't have what that person really needs as far as their best interest goes. I think this thing could turn into a lot of yuck. Follow me what I'm saying?
Well,
like there's some agents that are going to take high top shelf kids that are going to become pros. That's all cool, right? That's all good. But a lower level kid that is never going to be a professional is not going to get the attraction of the main type of agents because they can't make money off of them. So you're going to get another level, and I think there's going to be issues.
Well, I think there's no question, and there has been already. There's a group here with NIL with the absence of rules and regulations on the NIL stuff. There is people flooding into the market that portray themselves to be NIL experts for these guys. And listen, I do think it makes some sense for a lot of these players to have some representation. The people around them don't necessarily have the expertise here. But, yeah, you've got to pick correctly because there are some folks out there that don't know what they're doing. They're going to pretend they know what they're doing, and they're going to get some kids suckered in. There's no doubt about that. That's part of the free market enterprise that you're going to have. There's going to be some problems with that early. There's going to be some guys that are taken early. You got to be super careful if you're entering that world.
Yeah, and one last point on it. So just to kind of make sure that I'm being clear about this. So why are you going to get into some issues? Because the average deal of an NIL deal is so much lower than you're being led to believe that it is, right? I'll say this, like $30,000 and $40,000 and $50,000 deals are much, much more real than these six-figure $300-$400 deals. You follow me? Okay. So if you've got an agent that's representing a kid, let's just say Brad is going to be worth on the market $30,000, $40,000. Like there's not enough money in $30,000 or $40,000 for that agent to make a lot of money. I mean, if you take 10% of that, it's a $3,000 deal. Like people that are really proficient at that, they're not gonna make moves for that. And then you get people that don't really understand the true market value. I just get worried that some kids will be given information that they will be misrepresenting what they think they're worth, and then it just leads to a cluster. We'll see. We'll see how that shakes out. But to your point, there needs to be some form of rules and organization. By the way, the commissioner, Big 12, down there at the Greenbrier this weekend, part of the WVU Cancer Gala.
How was that?
Didn't make his seminar. I was up here doing that football game. Didn't get down there until a little bit later in the evening. But talked to some folks who were there. The word revenue used with great frequency.
Sure.
A lot of revenue talk.
I guess that would make some sense. That's the number one topic in college sports right now.
A lot of revenue talk. Also, Connecticut talk.
On their national championship?
No, membership.
Excuse me?
Membership.
What do you mean on their membership?
Big 12 interested in Connecticut.
I thought that was already done and put to bed in a no.
Nah, I don't know about that. Think that natty keeps kindling that a little bit.
That would surprise me.
Yeah. Gonzaga.
Surprised me on both ends.
Gonzaga and Connecticut.
Listen, Connecticut's. As someone that spent time at Connecticut, they're in an odd spot because they're continuing to have football, but it's clearly being driven. They're joining back into the Big East was clearly a driver to get the basketball back on the map.
Right?
Has that worked?
No.
It hasn't worked to get basketball back on the map?
No. That's part of it. But to get football, they got nothing going on.
That part's right. They're okay. They got basketball back going. They're back where they feel like they should be. I don't know that there's a lot of clamoring around college sports to join back with UConn in a different league. They're in a good spot. Now, they need revenue too, as everybody does. And so I understand why those discussions come up. But, man, you talk about fit all the time. That seems odd from both parties, quite frankly.
Yeah. We'll see how that
see how it shakes out.
Mountaineer basketball. Coach DeVries over at that football game the other day.
I saw Coach DeVries.
I heard you two did.
We had a nice little chat there during the spring game. He's a big football guy. Big football. There he is. There's Darren
look at
there,
that.
saying hello.
Now, wait a second. If you'd hold on that photo for a second. Now, that doesn't look like sky. That doesn't look like the sky.
Excuse me?
That one looks more like a suspended ceiling with some can lights up in there.
Yeah,
weren't you
it correctly?
Weren't
Yeah.
you the guy that told me that you were going to be seated outside during the thing? That kind of looks like a suite to me. Now, where are you head over there?
Well, I tried to get to all different parts of the stadium there, Tony, to see who I need to say hello to. I was a stop by the suites.
Yeah.
Saw Coach DeVries in there. He's doing well.
Get some players, get some coach. What do we got?
There.
What do we got?
Yeah, getting there. I think over the next couple of weeks, you're going to see them continue to strengthen that roster. You know, you got to think about it from this perspective. They're at the point now, you get a couple, 2, 3 more additions in there, and you're probably pretty well set with your rotation guys. I know you need a ton of players overall, but some of those are going to be depth pieces that you can add later on. So they've got a couple guys here in the next few days they hope to have locked up, and we'll see where it goes.
So when you ran into him, did you like kind of do your Iowa handshake? Like, is there some special kind of like?
I just said hello. Good to see you.
Any Iowa talk at all?
Yeah, some. Talked about his brother. Talked about his brother who was an All-American at Iowa, played in the NFL for a long time.
Yeah. Anyone else we need to know about running around in that booth?
Yeah, it was. I saw Avon Coburn for a little bit. In fact, that was the conversation. It was interesting. I introduced Darren to Avon Coburn. Avon pointed out he played for a little bit of time with Darren's brother, Jared, at the Detroit Lions. Yeah. Sounds kind of a fun little
small world
conversation. They're a very small world. So always great to see Avon back, too.
All right. Coming up on Three Guys Before the Game, we're going to get into some textual healing. Saw a lot of people, obviously, over the weekend. We were bouncing around a little bit. But first, this reminder from the super-duper people at the wonderful world of Go-Mart, calling all of you snack champions. Spring into action, and you can get your hunger cravings down up until the end of this month. So just a couple of more days. Track down a chance to win Slim Jim and C4 Energy purchase packs during a reward that you will earn points on and game tokens. You can collect all 5 of those tokens, score a huge knockout, 3,000 bonus points, plus you can enter in the sweepstakes to win a $500 Go-Mart gift card. Get the full rundown on the Go-Mart app. Visit gomart.com. That's gomart.com. All right, all in all. Hey, how about the baseballers?
Oh, my gosh. Rolling again. Sweep of Baylor over the weekend.
That's 3 series sweeps.
They're playing great. They're playing great. They just find ways to win. They just hung around yesterday. Aiden Major did a really good job.
Did you go over?
I did go over. Well, beautiful day. Had to get outside.
Were you in the stadium, or you cheat the hill again, go up top there with the hospital? Oh, you went inside the stadium.
Yeah, inside the stadium. We were there watching him. So it was great. Had a wonderful time. Aiden Major did a nice job. Gave up 4 runs while he was in there, but only on 4 hits. Very opportunistic by Baylor while they were in there. He brings some heat, man.
Well, he's a mid-90s guy.
He's a mid-90s guy. And you see mid-90s live when you're sitting in there. That's humping it up there pretty good.
That makes that catcher's mitt pop a little bit.
It's humping it up pretty good. So with one of my daughters, she goes, geez, he's throwing fast. Yeah, he's throwing fast. He's throwing fast.
There's a couple of dudes having seasons, man. Kyle West
continues to absolutely hit missiles.
I know.
Just hits absolute seeds when he's up there. Grant Hussey went deep yesterday. It was good to see him get a long ball. But Kyle West missed having a 3 home run day by about 4 feet total.
That's what I heard. The wind took him.
Because it was blowing out to left again. He was testing that center field and right area a couple times, but he could have easily had 3 home runs on the day.
He's
he
punishing
just
the ball.
Shots. He really does.
Yeah, so they're rolling.
So
they've got Pitt. They're up at Pitt this week.
Yes.
And their midweek game is up
Park.
PNC Park.
Yeah.
And then I'm assuming Kansas State, right? They go to Kansas State this coming weekend, but
they're right in position again.
Yes, they are.
The calendar turns to May for the defending Big 12 champs. You are right in the hunt again, which is, I think, just remarkable for this group, given those injuries early on in the season, to be hanging around where they are. Just simply remarkable.
Yeah. So just one more home series remains. Did I screw that up? I'm trying to think. You know, it might help me if I bring the baseballs. I think K-State's here. I screwed that up.
The other part of that,
Cincinnati. It's coming up on the road.
The weather was great again. Obviously, we talked about that at the spring game, and it was like that all weekend over at that park. Again, and not plowing new ground here, but that park with that kind of weather, when you're out there, that's a really fun way to spend a day.
Yeah, it is. And teams are starting to not like to come here, which is perfect, right?
Which is great.
Because you got a little vibe and you got some stuff going within your stadium. So fingers crossed. So they do have just one more Big 12 series remaining, as My computer goes slower and slower by the day. But coming up for West Virginia, the midweek game against Pitt, which is always neat, at PNC. And then after that, the world champion Mountaineers do go to Cincinnati this weekend. 5 o'clock Friday, 3 on Saturday, 1 on Sunday. Then Penn State supposed to return that game.
They're supposed to come down here.
Yeah,
right?
they're supposed to come down here a week from Wednesday.
Yeah.
And then West Virginia closes league play here. K-Staters come here May 10, May 11, and May 12. And then West Virginia has the TB determined game on May 14th. Those are good this time of year.
Yeah.
Fill it in. Then at TCU, and then they stay on the road and they go right to the Big 12
Just keep
tournament.
rolling, man. You're right in the hunch. You're getting good pitching. You're getting good hitting, and that's the thing. Like with West coming on, and you're getting guys. It doesn't have to just be Weatherholt. Right?
Correct.
That's where you're rolling now. Some of those other guys got experience. The rest of the lineup's coming through. Really fun team to watch.
And I'm really glad that I corrected that on the fly about K-State, going to K-State this weekend. I didn't need to deal with those texts that would have been coming in here.
So you fixed it. You're
Fixed
good.
it.
Yeah.
Cincinnati.
So no text now.
No text, please.
So in case those people that turn it off right after you said that, just stay with you. You got it back online.
We've already corrected it. Yeah. All right, let's do this. Alrighty, 3 guys before the game, and Textual Healing is sponsored by episode800.com. Check it out. The word episode 800 and .com. Episode800.com. It's where we sell all of our stuff.
You know what I did today? I'm having my standard podcast game day grind.
Mm-hmm.
Put a little protein powder in there today.
With the game day grind?
Yeah.
And?
Mixed up great.
Nice.
Gave it a little chocolate hit to it. Plus got a little protein in.
How many grams of protein?
It was 1 scoop. I don't remember where it was. Somewhere around 15, 20.
That's good. How many are you supposed to get in a day?
A lot more than that. Working on protein intake. Can't get it all in one serving, though. This was just a nice little additional serving here. Goes down smooth with the game day grind.
Just
kind of like a homemade mocha there.
Mm-hmm. Just as in life. Just be judicious. Not too much. Everything in moderation. Episode800.com. Yeah, we're going on the road, by the way.
What, you against protein?
I like protein.
Oh.
Yeah, I like protein. I've been a big protein advocate for years. Yeah, big fan. We're going on the road Friday. We're doing a live show for the West Virginia Society of Certified Public Accountants. And I mentioned this on our last episode. And I said, for those of you that are out there that would like to attend that event, if you go to WVS, so that's West Virginia Society, WVS, then CPA.org. If you go to their webpage, just scroll down upcoming CPE and events. There's a 3 guys. The name of the show is 3 Guys After Committee Day because they're having their committee.
Okay.
And 3 guys everything, and you can get in there.
But anybody can go. You don't have to have an affiliation with the CPA group.
That's correct. Yeah, that's correct. And we're going to do a show. 90 minutes. We're going to have fun. We'll do a little bit different because some of the folks that will be there haven't been with us from the beginning. So we'll kind of tell the 3 guys story, how it started, what it does, where it is right now, and then we're rocking and rolling. Lord knows where that'll take us.
First Charleston trip for 3 guys.
It is.
I mean, individually, we've been there a million times, but first time we've all gone together.
Yeah, as far as 3 guys goes, we were supposed to do something last year. Down there involving beers and food, but that never materialized. And anyway, so you can check it out. It's 3 guys before the game. You're invited. They do have some limited seats available. Go to WVSCPA.com or .org, WVSCPA.org. We'd love to have you there. Just click on the non-member deal, and we can get you in. We're going to start.
And so there's no test or anything or no continuing education for the folks that show up that aren't CPA folks. They can just come and enjoy.
Right. You don't have to be a
test.
CPA. I will credit people with continuing education. I'll give you a WVU football, WVU medicine fan certificate for having knowledge base. Right? You can use that. You can put that on your LinkedIn profile. That'd be really, really
That'd be
nice.
great. We'd love to see you. The non CPA folks, we'd love to see you come out there and fill those seats.
And the stunning announcement is that Hoppy's going to be there, believe it or not. So, love to have you. WVSCPA. We'll have fun. Promise. The only thing I can promise you, we'll have fun.
We'll have fun.
Texter, I never miss an episode. I love what three guys are doing for Mountaineers near and far. We take the Mountaineers in concrete. Very serious in my family. Going into our 45th consecutive year of football season tickets. My boys get to read your famous quote every night before they go to sleep in the bunk room of our Pocahontas County hunting camp. Look at that.
Look at that. That's legit
So
graphic.
that is a legit cabin right there, and that's a camp. So it says, it's a great night to be a Mountaineer wherever you may be. Got a picture of the collie there. Look at that. Look at that room. How about that thing?
Yeah, like Mountaineer locker room level graphics there.
Yes, they do. But check, there's other things. Got a full uniform.
Excuse me? That's at the cabin?
Well, might be a side room there. Might be the expanded part of it.
Got the whole mannequin and things.
Yeah, they got the whole mannequin, and then there's they got to have helmets through the years.
Oh, nice.
Got to have helmets.
Yeah.
So thank you for out there, you guys listening, and we do appreciate that. And thanks, really appreciate it. Great night to be a Mountaineer.
Tell you what, you throw the mannequin in your house with the uniform. I mean, that's big. That's next level.
It is next level whenever you go mannequin.
Yeah.
Phil got old mannequins or new mannequins. How's that working?
Got a little
over
of both.
at Daniels.
A little of both.
So you got some new ones and some older ones. The
Yeah.
older ones are like made out of wood. The new ones are more like a fiberglass.
Yeah, I mean, mostly newer ones.
Yeah. Texter JD from the Southern Coalfields writes in, 3 guys. I need to hear the story behind Tony getting Major Harris to rap and why it ticked off Coach Don Nealon. Thanks much. I've told the story. I'll give it to you really quick. So the Ronald McDonald House was in the infancy of being constructed here in Morgantown. And the past president at WVU's wife was involved in the fundraising. And we were talking or something, and I said, well, why don't we do I don't know how the rap part of it got involved, but I went and I got Major Harris, and it was supposed to be Rico Tyler, and they were going to do a rap song. And I secured a studio over there on West Run Road. Kim Monday.
Yeah.
You know Kim?
I know Kim.
Yeah.
Son Donovan.
Yeah.
I know Donovan well.
Yeah. And they had a studio in their place there on West Run Road. Drive over to the stadium. I was driving my 79 Robin Blue Ford Granada. Pulled up. Now, this is the facilities building back in that day, prior to the Pushcar Center. And Major was there, and I said, Mage, what's up? He goes, yeah, let's do this. I said, seems to be in good voice to go record. And I go, where's Rico? Don't know where Rico is. Rico, who now, by the way, is a vice president in administration at DePaul University. And he said, so we went and got L. Void Mays. So he said,
as a late fill-in.
Late fill-in, Void, let's go. Jump in the car, drive down West Run Road. Go to Kim's studio. We go down in the basement there. Okay. Got a studio.
Yeah.
I can't remember who else was there. And you know what? Alan Hercules might have been there. He shot it on camera. We were way ahead of the game.
You were way ahead of the game.
Way ahead. Yeah, because it's on video. This is 88. So they sat down.
At that time, I'm surprised the video camera fit in the room.
Yeah, exactly. Probably put it in the trunk. So Al Void and Major literally, and I'm not exaggerating, wrote the lyrics on a blank sheet of paper, and I'm not exaggerating. It was no more than 20 minutes. And we got it. I said, what? We're done. Got it. Boom. Turned it on. Kim had a sample, some sort. He hit a beat, and they just started riffing off of the thing. And we were like, it wasn't 90 minutes. And we left. A couple days later, Kim says, okay, here's what I got for you. And we went wow. Anyway, that's the long, I said I was going to do it short. That's the long version. So Nealon doesn't know anything about this. Put the song together. We press it onto a cassette. All money goes to the Ronald McDonald House.
So you were selling this.
Blatantly selling it this was no internet, no direct to, so you're selling these things, putting them in envelopes, sending them out across the state, play out. So we sold $17,000 worth of them.
Pretty good.
It's really good. One of the bad things was one of the purchasers that was unbeknownst to me was the University of Notre Dame. So they got a hold of it, and they were playing it.
Hold on, because this was in the interim between the end of the regular season and before the Fiesta Bowl.
Correct.
Okay.
So they would play it.
Yeah.
They would play it before their practice started when they were in their warm-up stretch,
Sure.
team stretch.
Sure.
They were doing team stretch. So I didn't know anything about that, and I had a basketball game back here, so I got to Arizona after the football team did. So I would just remember pulling up
Yeah. Pulled up to practice?
Pulling up to the motel there where we were staying at.
Yeah.
And just when I was getting there that afternoon, the football team was getting ready to.
And by the way, at that moment, you're all giddy. Because, right, you're in the Fiesta Bowl's coming, national championship on the line. This is going to be great. Can't wait. So excited to be here.
I was excited.
You were in good spirits.
Yeah, I was actually gonna spot. I spotted that game for Jack Fleming.
Yeah.
I was a spotter, so I was all excited. And Nealon's walking out of the motel just as I get there. And he sees me. It looks as though, based upon his reaction, that he had been looking for me. Because he kind of he sprung when he finally found his target.
Was it an abnormal reaction for when he would normally see you?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Quite.
So that tipped you off.
Quite. Because he and I at that point, we were boys at that point. I'd been here 4 years.
Right.
So he knew me, but he didn't know me. It was before he started calling me Tones.
Right.
Hey, Tones.
It wasn't that.
No. So he sees me, and at that time he hadn't had the surgery yet with the finger. He had that finger that was crooked from when he played. So he was trying to point at me, but it was going that way. And he says, "Hey, Tony, do you know what Notre Dame's playing before every one of their practice?" And I was totally didn't I don't think I knew. And I said, "No, what?" And he said, "You're blanking. Yeah, he got all three of them in. And I went, "Whoa, I'm sorry," because coaches are they're already trying to find an excuse, as you well know, because everyone's sphincter's as tight as it could be. So I think, okay, fine. So there you go, JD. That's the long story. What happened?
But he also still hasn't let that go. That came up when he was in here before.
I'm not sure where he stands with it.
Well, I'm sure where it stands with it. He likes you a lot. He does not like that moment in time.
No. And he also knows Major's injury had more to do with the outcome of the game than my tape.
Probably a little bit.
Yeah. And Michael Stonebreaker, right? Tim Brown. That quarterback of theirs, too. He's pretty good.
Was that Tony Rice at the time?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Rocket Ismail.
So Lou Holtz liked the song, apparently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to get myself in trouble. Texter from Josh, second-time texter, long-time listener from Ravenswood, home of the Running Red Devils. Well, you don't need to tell us that. We know Coach Mick Price down there. Good afternoon, or whatever time it is. This is an over-under question. Next season, C.J. Donaldson, 900 yards, plus minus. Garrett Green, 20 touchdowns. Thanks, love the show. P.S. We need more Kirchevale. C.J. at 900. What do you got?
Had 795 last year and was really probably never 100% healthy in a full go, was he? I think that's got to go over. Now, again, you're going to want to see what this line does with.
Now, that number 22 is going to get a chance to run it, too. Now.
He is. I know. Well, he did last year, too, and he went for 842. I mean, there's running yards available out there.
So you think it's
and Garrett Green's going to run for some yards. I mean, I get what he's asking here. It's a really good number. It's a really good number. But he got within 100 of that last year with all three of those guys clipping along. Under's probably the play to begin with because of all three of those, but that wouldn't surprise me if he got there.
What about Garrett on 20 touchdowns?
Is he accounted for or just rushing?
He didn't that was a good question.
He had
I don't
13 rushing, 16 passing. So if he's combining, we accounted for 29. So the 20's way over. I don't know if he means just rushing or passing. They're probably passing. And if it's 20 passing, listen, I'm Joe Fan here. Joe Fan always takes everything over. I'm taking everything over. I think Garrett Green throws for more than 20 touchdown passes this year because I think that passing game takes a step forward.
Steve, not Cal, writes in.
Good numbers, though.
Remember I talked about the two doctors, the Frazier sisters?
Yeah,
he writes,
sure.
when the two doctors, Frazier, left the Pride of West Virginia Marching Band, the WVU Alumni Band amended its charter to say that no WVU Alumni Band event could begin before these two awesome mountaineers arrived. That's just how dedicated they are. This may or may not be unconfirmed. Thank you, Steve. Yeah, they're terrific.
They are dedicated.
Texter, scopes, spreads, and halftime Hoppy. Since the spring game preview covered almost every topic except the actual spring game.
Right.
I was wondering if you could tell me more about this new transfer you guys were talking about named Joe Cocker. What position does he play? How many years of eligibility in his 10-year eligibility does he have left, and what number to look for when he's pushed out onto the field to play? Thanks for the laughs and entertainment, Greg and Buchanan.
Thank you, Greg.
P.S. I think three guys would make a great grand feature parade marshals for next year's Strawberry Festival. You ever been a grand marshal at a parade?
I've never done that. You? You probably have done one, haven't you?
No, and that's a streak I'd like to continue.
Really? You've never done that?
Turned down one once.
A lot of parades going on.
Yeah, turned down once, and the guy that offered it got really bummed out.
Never asked you back.
Well, I didn't want to go. I didn't want to do it. It's like, I think I got my message across. He was upset. What do you mean?
All due respect to the event, of course.
He goes, what do you mean? I go, like, that's not something that I like to do. Like, I don't like to sit and wave to people. You know? Oh. That's not one of the things that I would find enjoyable.
Throw a little candy out? Not your deal?
I would like to fire candy. Hey, three guys.
If we did that and had bags of candy, what's the percentage that would actually get thrown versus eaten?
There'd be a lot of consumption.
Yeah.
Hoppy would be incredibly uncomfortable as a parade marshal.
Yeah. Which might be worth doing it just for that reason.
I might do it if like Hoppy could just make Hoppy like wither for like about 3 miles down a road at 2 miles an hour. Hey, three guys or two guys since Hoppy's always gone. Yes, when you say Ahia, Louisville, the Krogers, and YouTubes, we know it's meant to give you clowns an inward chuckle. But, as in my case, and surely others too, we point that out to give ourselves a chuckle too and give us a chuckle. Just hoping our chuckles don't join forces and destroy us all.
Very good.
No, we're not chuckling us all. No.
Well done.
Texter says, at Marshall's commencement ceremony, keynote speaker Chris Gardner opened with, "Where's Hoppy?" Apparently he has the same problem as two guys does. Matt from Fayetteville. Did that actually happen?
I don't know. That'd be great if it was.
Did that actually happen?
I don't know that.
Do you think, I would love to know that. Someone would have told us before if that would have happened. But that was the guy that made Hoppy like weird, right, on this show last week. You know what I'm talking about? The guy that was the author that Hoppy talked about, that he had him on his show.
Oh, yeah. That may have happened.
That may have happened where he got up.
He tried to put Hoppy on the spot.
Are you coming to the thing?
Yeah.
Why are you not coming to my?
That's a great point.
I hope that happened. James in Grafton. Dana's mark on the program has officially been removed from the uniforms. Thoughts on the new outfits for the world champion Mountaineers? Again, I'm uniform agnostic. So what'd you think?
I overall liked them. And the storytelling's really good, too. West Virginia's put out a couple videos that encourage you to go check out if you want to see the more in-depth reasons for this. But a couple things I like. I don't know that I had a strong opinion on the stripes on the pants. I get why they wanted to bring back the ode to the great teams under Coach Neal that had the stripes. I really like them. Once I saw the stripes on the pants, especially the white, because I've never been the all-white uniforms for me. I know a lot of players like those. That's never been my favorite. I think those take a massive step forward with the stripes. staying on the white. The gold outline now on the jersey helps tie it all together because everything has gold and blue on it on the white, so it's very good. The ode to the heyday of the Pat White, Steve Slayton era with the
crescent shoulders
around or chip on the shoulder, as some have described that, which is a good way to describe it. I like that. Put the branding on the side, the flying WV, good on that. So overall, I think they're really good. And I feel like they mix and match maybe a little bit better than the last iteration do. So overall, I thought they did a nice job on them.
On that release that they sent out, as far as who was involved in the design, I was surprised. Your boy was involved. Michael Fergale.
Yeah, well, he's a big uniform guy.
I know he is.
History of uniforms. I don't know that he was making any designs. He wasn't making the drawing of the designs, but probably had input on.
He had input.
Past.
He's got
uniforms.
a great retro. He's got great history to how those uniforms used to look. But they listed the people that were involved. He was one of them, which surprised me.
They kept talking about marrying the history with the modern. I do think that achieved that. So I think there were some nice little Easter eggs in there, as they're sometimes called, of what things meant. I
really like the all whites for the road now. Really like those. Truly do.
The stripe on the pants elevates those up a lot, in my opinion.
Really like them. Are there going to be any more coming out?
Don't know.
Might be. Hey, Brad, Tony, and Hoppy. Professor Vinny here. Lifelong Steelers fan. I am so pumped that they chose Zach Frazier. Here's to hoping he can be an all-pro center for them. This actually got me thinking, who was the last WVU player to play consistently for the Steelers? Not practice squad. Well, I turned to my guy on that. I took your question and I said, okay, who is it? Because, yes, there have been Mountaineers that have passed through, right? You've had Ryan Mundy, you've had Carl Joseph, you've had Terrence Garvin.
Amos,
Mike
right? Logan.
Yeah. My guy said Mike Logan.
Mm-hmm.
My guy said it was Mike Logan that consistently played. My guy's Jeff Campbell. You know Soup.
Mm-hmm. Heard of him.
Soup would know, right? Used to have the license plate that said Steelers, the West Virginia license plate that said Steelers, till someone stole it. Texter, fellas listening to 548 episode, I went to high school with P1 listener Jennings in Ravenswood. You won't find a guy with more dedication. If you guys held a contest to see who could throw the most boiled eggs over a retaining wall from your Adirondacks chair on my family farm in Jackson County, he'd be there in line. P.S. If you ever need to know anything about our country's former presidents, he's the man to ask. So Jennings apparently has great knowledge of past United States presidents.
President expert. Didn't know that. We'll ask him. I think he'll be at the CPA event, right? He's not CPA, but he was trying to effort to get in there.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't know why you wouldn't do that deal.
That's when? Thursday?
That would be Friday.
This Friday.
This Friday.
May.
Yeah. May 3. Wednesday's the 1st. So this May 3rd. $79.
May 3.
May 3, $79. You don't have to be a member. We're going to have fun. WVSCPA.org to register.
In Charleston.
Marriott. Greetings, two guys, since Hoppy already announced his absence. Sean from Raleigh. Couple of quick things. I agree with Tony. I like the all-white uniform, so he must have been listening to the broadcast. I'm sure superstitious Brad gets all angsty because of the record in that configuration, but he's smart enough to know the uniforms aren't the reason. Why do I know, though? I was always number 13 when possible. Second thing is I listened to Tony and the gang on Saturday because I had some yard work to do. So right as Pat White answered the question during his on-field interview asking if he knew how much he meant to WVU fans. There must have been a cloud of dust in the air because something got in my eyes as he answered, I hope they know what they mean to me. That's what Pat said.
That is a great answer by Pat.
Yeah. Have a great week, gentlemen. I hope we have a fun and robust summer series. So that puts pressure on us. That puts pressure on us.
I don't think he meant to put pressure.
Yeah.
He just knows it's going to be a good, fun, and robust efforting.
As always, Texter says, I enjoyed your last podcast Friday returning to West Virginia for the WVU Cancer Gala this weekend. After the great positive vibes brought by Ren and all the coaches at the WVU dinner last Monday, seeing how Ren and the WVU football actively engaged some of our forever stars like Pat and Pat, kudos to Blaine Stewart, who's a big part of this, and looking forward for more to come. Coach DeVries is off to a great start. It was so nice meeting with him And again, so special to see and hear from John Beeline. Coliseum will be rocking this season. While we didn't get Tony and Neil until later in the day on Saturday, the chat between President Gee and Brett Yormark at the gala was most enlightening. People need to feel very thankful for Gordon Gee's leadership at the highest level of college athletics with the college football playoff, and likewise with our Big 12 commissioner on a great trajectory as they are playing chess on multiple levels to ensure that West Virginia and the Big 12 are on solid ground. Congrats, Tony, for getting the auction items bid up quite nicely, and a reminder to all Three Guys listeners that WVU Medicine is world-class in a number of areas, including cancer care and screening. Last comment, Tony, can you get some Three Guys logoed swag added to the swag bag at the cancer gala? Oh, I see all these demands. Tell your buddy Dave we appreciate the Uggs and the Game Day Grind coffee, but efforting some additions. Keep up the great work. You guys are the view of Mountaineer sports.
Nice text there. Quick note there was slid in there. Getting the auction items bid up quite nicely. So you flew down there with an auctioneer?
Yeah.
That's you brought in to be the auctioneer.
Yeah.
How'd that go? I mean, you claimed before you're a world-class auctioneer.
It went well, and we did well.
How many items total, do you remember?
Auction? Live?
Yeah.
7.
7 live auction.
So they had a special in-dinner plea request for funding for a device that's called a Thor device. That is much needed. It involves, I'll butcher the heck out of this, but it involves using ultraviolet rays for folks that are going through cancer treatments when their throats and inside their mucus areas swell up because of the treatments.
Okay.
Using this device reduces that. They're expensive. They cost $20,000 each. And so the request was there that night. You do this in real time off of an app. You donate.
Mm-hmm.
The goal was to get $140,000 to buy 7 of them. And people stepped up big time. Multiple people stepped up big time. And we got to $138,000. Really nice.
Wow, terrific.
And then another couple said, we'll go in for 20. And then 2 more 20s came in. We got that thing to like $198,000 and change. Someone else said, I'll kick it up over $200,000. And so they were able to buy 10 of those devices.
Wow, awesome.
That they will distribute across the state to help people get that. So that's huge.
Pretty wild. Yeah,
that's huge.
That's big.
Then we
you weren't an auctioneer there.
Just
that was just
encouraging.
A request. Yeah.
I was encouraging people to do that off their phone.
Yeah.
Or if they wanted to write a hard check, they could have people
Checks
around.
were accepted.
Checks were accepted, whatever it would take. And then we did do the auction, 7 items. And first off, let me show you a couple that I met. Jim and Debbie Morris. So they came up to me, and there they are there. Now, I had a tuxedo on. I didn't wear that at the football game. I changed. That's nice. Jim and Debbie. Now, do you know who they are? They're P1 listeners, but their son is the GI doc.
Okay, yeah.
Now, he's in Pennsylvania right now, but went to WVU Medical School.
Sure.
So you could kind of see it was a fancied up affair. And then I did take the mic, and I did some auctioning there. And I think Dave, our guy Dave, sent a video, and he's got some
video of you auctioneering.
Yeah, we got some. We got some auction. If you want to roll that beat video.
I've got 3. I've got 3 here. Let's 2 together. I've got 3 right here. Do I have 3,500? I'm going to go for 3,500. Do I have 3,500? 3,500 here. Thank you. Now for 4, do I have 4? I've got 4.
So we were like 4,000.
45. I got 45. I've got some movement over here. Do I have movement over here? I got 45 here.
How's it sound? Does that sound
right?
I mean, I hate to give you too much credit, but it actually does sound like you know what you're doing.
I've got 55. Go ahead, 6.
You have settled in nicely into that role.
Well,
I mean, I've got 6,500.
When you
haven't done one in a while, right? You haven't been getting reps on this?
No.
$6,500 to bid to go for 7. 6,500 on the side of the road. 6,500. 6,500 to go for 7.
I'm trying to see what the item was.
6,500 is the number. 65 once. And I've got more. I've got 7. Thank you very much.
Yeah, some money just kind of goes up pretty quick.
Nice job there. You said going once to try and get some finality to it, and then that just kicked it
There
way
was
up.
one time I was at once, twice, and someone screamed, "Whoa!"
Now looking at 8. I'm looking at 8. Do I go? Set 2 hands up at the same time with all the fingers and everything and the thumbs? I've got 10.
Someone just went from 7 to 10.
Thank you very much. Do I have...
Anyway, you get the gist.
It's pretty good.
So we did.
You might have a future in that.
I enjoy it, and I am available for a celebrity auction. $60,000. We did over $60,000 in auction items.
That's wild. Great. So it was a good night of fundraising.
Fun. We had a bunch of different. So we had a suite at a Yankee game. Had a full suite at a Yankees Yankee game. Had a week at a beautiful, gorgeous 10,000 square foot place in Jamaica. Chef Paul Smith, you know Chef?
Sure.
Down from Ronceverte, cooked for us.
Sure.
Had a dinner at the Blaney House.
That'd probably be really good.
He's going to cook at the Blaney House. That bad boy went. That was nice. So congratulations to all the folks that were there, and it was good.
Good job by you on the auctioneering.
Yeah. I mean, there's not a whole lot of there's not a
you
whole
were way out on a limb there when you proclaimed that, but you actually are pretty good at that.
Well, see, that's the one thing I want to know after 550 episodes, like when you will acknowledge when I say I can do something, I can do it. I'll hold back when I say, like I told you I could kill that boar, went out and killed the boar.
I know.
I said I can auction.
The thing was asleep or already dead when you got it. The auctioneering thing is legit. You do a nice job with that. Boar thing,
Yeah. I was, it was good. Here we go. Hello, pizza guy, spreads, and hopster. Mending all those old relationships with the CPAs has given good karma to the Mountaineers with the winning and the passing of the rifle. Speaking of efforting, 49ers general manager John Lynch knows the verb now, using it in his post-draft press conference. He didn't invent it, though, like what this old columnist said, Joe in Charleston. So there, if you take a look at it, John Lynch did use the word efforting. It's awesome.
Now remember, I didn't invent it either.
No, we stole it from Dan Patrick.
Correct.
We're first to acknowledge where stuff is stolen.
I didn't invent it either. So John Lynch wants to use it, by all means.
Sure. Neil from Greenbrier County writes in, I was at the game the day that John Denver christened the new stadium with Country Roads. I was there and had the T-shirt, and I partied all weekend. Awesome. Tony's issues with having the correct person or place lately reminds me of a saying from a lawyer here in Greenbrier County who often says, often wrong, but never in doubt. I think there might be a new episode 800 shirt phrase right there. I think that would be a great T-shirt.
That's a good T-shirt.
Right? Often wrong, never in doubt. You could do that in 5 words. I love the show. Hope to see you guys at a tailgate this fall, Neil in Greenbrier County.
Thank you, Neil.
Dr. Jeff in Charleston writes in, a more in-depth analysis of the Country Roads phenomenon. I asked, why has that song taken on such a global presence? He writes in that not only does that song take us home, it takes us to our childhood home, where we were loved and protected by our parents, grew up with our brothers and sisters, and played outdoors incessantly with our friends. Secondly, it encourages us to mentally escape the congestion and isolation of city life and drive to the almost heaven-friendly country place we belong. Dr. Jeff in Charleston. It's well said.
Mm-hmm.
3 Guys Before the Game, by the way, is brought to us by Lou Wendell Marine Sales. When you want to have an unbelievable family moment, it's all about memories, really, when you kind of take a look at this stuff. Visit Lou Wendell Marine Sales because they are primed and ready to take you to a wonderful, wonderful place. Family owned for 4 decades, Lou Wendell Marine Sales in St. Albans, the biggest pontoon boat dealer in our state. Featuring Avalon pontoon boats, considered to be the best in the market, manufactured 100% in the United States. And their selection right now of everything boating is at its high for the year. So check them out on the website, LouWendellMarineSales.com. They've got our 3 Guys special, which is that Avalon Tri-Tune Venture 85 CR 23-footer, Honda 115 motor on that. And it's ready for you. They're open Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5, and on Sundays they're open from 1 until 5. Visit Lou Wendell Marine Sales. Go
These
to the
last
website, take a look at the live camera to see that water.
Well, I was just going to say, these last few days have been good. Good days to be out on the boat, including today. We record on Monday. It's supposed to be up in the 80s today.
Heavy sunscreen right now, though.
Heavy sunscreen.
Yeah. Hey, three guys, I've got a request for the summer series. How about Grant Hussey? He's part of my extended family. I've known him since he was knee-high to a grasshopper. Sister-in-law's nephew, Philip from Philippi, counting the days until August 31st. Go long, Grant. He had 3 hits yesterday.
Including a home run.
He had a ding-dong, didn't he?
Yeah, I mentioned Grant earlier in the show. I'd love to have him on. Great story.
Jeff from Sandyville.
Is he past the all-time home run mark, or is he one short? He's tied. Okay.
Tied it yesterday.
Yep.
Hoppy will probably say the wheel or electricity. But, Tony, what is the biggest change you've seen in broadcasting since you started? Jeff from Sandyville. The biggest change in broadcasting would be the ability to digitize audio from analog, because when you were able to digitize audio, it allowed you to distribute audio at your convenience. And by that I mean you could now send audio through the internet, across the internet, which allowed everyone to become a broadcaster. Quite simply, right? You can now take audio. You can take your own audio. We can take this program. We can put it into a digital form as an MP3 file, and then we can distribute it wherever we want to send it. You no longer need a radio station. You no longer need a television station to become your own broadcaster. You're a broadcaster. You can shoot video, you can shoot audio, record audio, and send it. And you're broadcasting. So that was the thing that revolutionized it, right? I can do stuff from my home studio right now, and just go global with it. So that's the biggest thing. Pretty amazing. And that's also what happened to print, right? The internet also made print. Everyone could become a writer. Pretty amazing. Texter, Seth from Charlestown. Hope I'm not too late on this text. Shame on me for not sending in real time, but over the weekend, the missus and I went to our local farmer's market in Charlestown. Yes, Hoppy knows that one. That's where Hoppy's from. Afterwards, since it was a little rainy, we got some local coffee, probably 3 guys before the game coffee, game day grind, probably.
Yep, sure.
And shopped around in a book record shop called Fuzzy Dog Books and Music in Charlestown. We are both 90s kids, and we have over 150 vinyls in our collection and growing, some of which were handed down and some were bought. Anyway, look what I found 2 minutes into shopping. There it is.
He said, I just can't with you guys.
Can't with you guys. Thanks for another hilarious episode. So there it is, a Joe Cocker album. Seth from Charleston. So if you are a younger person, I strongly suggest that you spend a little time on Joe Cocker, who is just an unbelievable, iconic voice of the 60s. And there is a documentary which I strongly just look up Joe Cocker documentary. I don't know where it's available, where I watched it, but it was freaking awesome. His voice is just a wow.
Can we go back in and instead of naming Thursday's episode Spring Game Preview, just say the Joe Cocker episode?
We could.
Probably should
We could.
accuracy's sake.
Earlier in the program, someone said P1 Jennings is one of the most avid listeners. Now Jennings writes in, great time this weekend as my buddy and I took in both the spring game and the baseball game.
Good job.
Great to see both Pats back on the sidelines, and I hope this trend of having former players serve as head coaches during the game continues. Baseball game was great, too. Great to see a sellout crowd. See you all Friday in Charleston, so he will be there.
He is going at our event in Charleston coming up Friday, May 3.
Now, how's he get off?
May 3, you said?
Yeah, Friday, May 3rd. Go to WVSCPA.org to buy tickets. Hey, how's he get off work? Now, people, they just can go off of work when they want to. Is that how that works?
Well, I think some people can.
Well, people, they call that, there's 3 letters I didn't know about.
What?
They call that PTO. I've never heard that word, those 3 letters, but people say that stands for personal time off. What a hell of a concept that is.
Jennings using it to come to the Three Guys event.
I love it, and I love
awesome.
the fact that people have that opportunity to do that. Because I'll be quite honest with you, that PTO thing, I'd never heard about that till about a month ago. And people say you can actually leave work. They call that PTO. That's a great invention. Whoever created PTO, hats off to you, because we haven't had that here. Not with Kercheval around. I mean, God forbid if you say you're going to take a day off. I mean, something better have exploded, or about 4 or 5 of your family members had to die in the same day, because otherwise we don't have that PTO. Duggan Winfield, Scopes, softball skipper, that'd be you, and the who are we kidding? We all know he's not there again. Great to have McAfee so involved with the program. There's no bigger personality in sports media right now, and his support and regular mentions of West Virginia are priceless. I agree with that. We have all seen the videos of Pat liking to be in front of the camera during his playing days here. You guys have been around a long time. You've seen a lot of guys come and go. Did Pat McAfee stand out as someone that you thought could have a career in front of a camera or a microphone? Are there any other guys that you would not have been surprised that if one day they would be in front of a camera or a microphone? No surprise whatsoever that Pat could make a career in front of a microphone. But at the scope and the scale of it, who would have ever thought that? I mean, he has become an absolute icon in broadcasting. I will venture to say that his touch is as big as any that we know. Think about this.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Think about this. Daily Show, right?
Mm-hmm.
The wrestling aspect of it. The ESPN game day involved. I mean, it is an absolute unbelievable.
I've told this story before. I first met him his first week on campus when he arrived as a freshman. He was over at a cookout event with some folks that we knew, and I got a call to say, can Brad come over here? There's a guy here that's a football player. I'd like him to have somebody to talk to him. And Brad, come over to us. I said, yeah, sure, we'll go over. Come, hot dog and hamburger. Walk in. I can still picture him as if it was yesterday. I mean, it took me about 3 seconds for me to think, he didn't need me to come over to have somebody to talk to here. Once I saw, he was kicked back on the couch, arms up, legs crossed, and was
I think you've told this story. You're right.
Up out of his seat immediately as a, whatever that was, 17 or 18-year-old freshman, again, that had been here a week and instantly had personality and charisma. So I'm with you. I didn't know he'd become the biggest media star in the business in 2024 as we sit here today, but you could tell he had loads of personality and would be just super successful.
Just funny as hell. I mean,
funny and can talk.
You remember
and
Bus 3?
Yeah,
he would come on Bus 3, even like it wasn't like he would come back and say, I'm not hanging with those other guys. I'm coming back here with you guys. That's what he would do. Yeah. I'm hanging with you guys back here. Yeah, the best.
I do think it's, without naming names because we'd miss somebody because there's just so many of them, but I do think there's something that tells you right away which of these guys are going to be ultra successful. A ton of them go on to be successful. There's a few that achieve a higher level, and I think you can tell pretty quickly in the personalities.
Another one, he was asking about others that you knew. Anthony Becht.
Right away.
He had magnetism.
Yeah, John Thornton was one.
John Thornton.
Right away.
Absolutely. You just knew.
Rashid, right away. I always use this as a barometer. I've told this story before. So in my role in the department, I was always on all the football trips. But I was one of those people, I was always there, but I didn't necessarily interact with a player I wasn't sports information, getting them to interviews, but I was always there. It's about 100% hit rate. The guys that made an effort to come up and talk that I got to know pretty well went on to be very, very successful guys, showed a little bit deeper level of understanding, an awareness of who's around the program, of who's who to talk to, an ability to talk to people you don't know. Right? Mm-hmm. That's a life skill that served. All of those guys we just mentioned did that and had that. I always thought that was a good barometer.
Reed Williams.
Reed was right up there. That was one.
I just had another one on the top of my head.
Grant Wiley was one right away.
Doggone, I just had another one that was an absolute heck. Doggone it. But I was going to say Reed was an absolute. Mike Logan. really did a good job communicating all of the time. Offensive lineman, Kevin Koken had a great relationship with him, and he's like the Fed in FedEx, does great things, really super personable. Just those guys, they just kind of get it before most other guys get it. That's what it is, right? Avon
Coburn was one.
Avon's really, really good.
Mm-hmm. Quincy Wilson was another one.
Quincy defined like understanding it and getting it.
Personality.
Yeah,
being able to talk to people. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've had so many.
Yeah, we could go on and on. There's been a bunch.
Here's the thing. I'll close with this. That as much criticism that college athletics takes upon itself, and as many missiles that are fired at how the system is a bad system, or this thing doesn't work, and this person's getting screwed and that person's getting screwed, it works. It actually, in spite of the NCAA and its stupid rules, it works.
Mm-hmm.
And we could do countless listings of people that have come through that have been just these huge successes. I mentioned one earlier, Rico Tyler.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Rico Tyler grew up tough and hard in the Pittsburgh area. Comes down here, gets his degree, goes to Fairmont State, and now, as I said, he is a vice president at DePaul University. Just that is the success, right? That is just goes to show you, and all of the guys that have come through, successful business people through, how many lawyers? Jay Kelchner, super successful in the space that he's in,
Kevin White goes on to be a judge.
Yeah. I don't want to say names because when I say names, I also don't mention so many that have been just wows.
Hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds, and that's just here. That's not across college sports, and I think you're right. I think one of college sports' self-inflicted wounds is the lack of good PR they give themselves. They allow the arrows to be slung and the missteps to be publicized and can't get out of their own way. I mean, a lot of those are self-inflicted, but there are hundreds upon thousands of great stories, and not just in football, across all sports with some really wonderful student athletes that you don't hear enough about. But there's literally hundreds, thousands just at West Virginia.
And if you were to talk to Don Nealon, and we have when he's been here in the past, that to him, those for a coach that did it for a long time, those are the greatest gifts that they have from their coaching. Don would tell you, he doesn't really remember, the wins and all that kind of stuff. Sure, he'll remember some wins and some things like that. They remember the losses, unfortunately, more. But it's what their players are doing now that makes them the happiest. That's the greatest thing that they take away from their experience, is being able to get a phone call on any day of the week from a guy that calls them and says, "Hey, coach, it's so-and-so. Well, I just wanted to check in on you. Okay, what are you doing now?" That is their victory. At the end of it, that was the greatest victory that they had.
No question.
Because why is it? Because if you've got the ability or the opportunity in the course of your career to change anyone's life and make it a positive impact, that's great. If you can do that to one person in your career, that's awesome. But when you're a coach, you open yourself up, especially football, to do it to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people over the course of a career. That's like the greatest victory of all. And that's why these guys are so revered. All right. We've said enough for episode 550. Super thanks and a reminder to our buddies at the West Virginia Society of Certified Public Accountants, because they're going to have us as their guest coming up on Friday. And again, an opportunity for you, if you'd like to visit with us and spend that afternoon with us. We're going to start it at 2 o'clock on Friday afternoon. Go to WVSCPA.org. Get yourself one of them tickets. You can do that on electronically there by that internet. You can just
open to anybody.
Open it up, yeah. As long as they behave. And we don't want anyone. We don't want anyone running the stage.
No, I think
taking a shot at Hoppy or anything. You can do that right now. We'd love to see you Friday. Three Guys brought to us by Comax Business Systems, keeping West Virginia's business data safe and secure and efficient for 25 years. By Gomart, go for good times, go for Go-Mart. We're going to stop at Go-Mart when we go down to Charleston this week. Three Guys also brought to us by Lou Wendell Marine Sales in St. Albans. Got the greatest job in the world. They sell family fun. They're the best. Visit them at LouWendellMarineSales.com. Thanks to our producer, Austin Wright. Back again, maybe, later this week, providing our schedules can work with
efforting
a guest. Thanks for being with us. See y'all.